This will be a series of conversations. I'm going to try to cover a bunch of stuff in this talk, and then we'll do a bunch of them as we go on, and just kind of just share some different insights and outlooks. And as I go forward with this process, I'll bring some guests in that are really great sports marketers that have done a bunch of different things just to add different perspectives. So also, we're going to be giving away autographed photos. So, stay right where you are. Ben, what do you have to do exactly?
So this, if they share the video and a comment with a question, they can be entered with any of those things there.
Henrik Lundqvist, Odell Beckham. There's a couple good photos here. So,
And then if they
all
go,
you got to do is like and share.
yeah, like your page, share the video, and then just comment a question below. They can enter to win any of those things. And then the big prize.
Big picture is you're going to win a Derek Jeter ball.
Yeah.
If you go to the landing page.
Yeah,
on
Steinersports.com/win. You can enter to win a Derek Jeter ball.
Got Ben over there, who unfortunately went to Maryland. They didn't have sports marketing there at that time, so he's just a regular smart guy, but didn't get the wisdom I got from Syracuse, who also at that time didn't have sports marketing, by the way. But anyway, Ben's helping put this together. He's going to be giving this stuff away. Not a steep price to pay, as we use a little sports marketing to lure you into going to our Facebook pages and also to get your email addresses. A little bit of a sports marketing play in itself, obviously, and not a steep price to pay for some of the knowledge and hopefully some insight I'm about to give you. I thought the first thing is how do you get your foot in the door? And listen, I just wanted to break this up into like maybe 2 or 3 parts today. One is how you get your foot in the door. 2, can you afford to maybe get an athlete to help you endorse? How do you get an athlete to kind of associate with to maybe increase the value of your brand or to expand the view of your brand? And how do you partner up with a player or even a team for that matter if you're really not that big a company or if you are a big company? Well, first, how do you get your foot in the door? Simple. It's not who you know, what you know, but what you know about who. So my first thing I would say to you is if you have a customer that you've been trying to get to or you have somebody you're trying to get a meeting with, the key is, and I'm looking at the wrong camera, sorry. The key is if you can just find out a little bit of information about that customer. One of my oldest tricks in the book is I call up the person who's decision maker's assistant and I ask him, I say, who is her or who are their favorite players? And it may be their favorite player, could be his favorite player, could be her son's favorite player. And I send them, assuming, let's say it's Keith Hernandez. Decision maker's a huge Met fan, loves the Mets. I send him this case in the mail, very simple little case, costs about $15. And I tell him that I'm going to be in that area. And then when we do a meeting, at some point, if we could just meet, I'd like to bring the Keith Hernandez ball. I'd like to bring that with me. And I know that they're a big Mets fan. I know they're a Keith Hernandez fan or someone of the above. And then I know they're going to give me that meeting 9 out of 10 times. Another thing I like to do is, if I'm thinking about trying to get to a decision maker, say, look, we all have the same goals in common. I'd love to be able to score a meeting with you. I want to send you this JT Miller puck. Sometimes I'll send it ahead of time just in a simple cube or a case, or sometimes I'll do the same thing. Sometimes I send a 2-ball case. It could be a Mariano Rivera and a Jeter ball, and I send the Mariano ball ahead of time, and I say, listen, something when we meet, I'm going to bring the Jeter ball to go with this 2 greatest Yankees as of late. Would you love to, would you give me that meeting? I love to send the ball and just say, hey, there's a John Wetland ball. It doesn't have to be a Derek Jeter or an expensive ball, but you just do a simple ball, a John Wetland ball. I hope you're looking forward to my pitch. So if you're trying to pitch somebody something, I hate sending a pitch deck to somebody and then hoping they're going to read it. I'd rather just get face-to-face. I want to get that meeting. I send them a John Wetland ball. Hey, I want you to give me a chance. I'm telling you, I'm going to come up with an MVP pitch. Would you give me an opportunity? Something like that. Or if I'm sending maybe an autograph ball from the manager, whether it could be an Aaron Boone or a Joe Torre, let me manage your banking needs. Let me help you manage your insurance needs. And something to kind of get them a little bit off that just open up the mail and throw it away in the garbage, that you're a creative thinker. I think there's only 2 reasons to call someone. If you've got a real idea to help them, and if you have an idea that can save them money. I think you got to stop selling and start serving. And I think when you come to clients, you want to get your foot in the door. It should be to help them, serve them, save them money, something that's going to make their life a little easier, and you've put some thought into it. I think too many salespeople and companies are calling people to try to sell them things and try to help them, save them, make life easier for them. That's the reason why you call someone. And I think you can use sports marketing in a simplistic most simplistic way by just using a simple case with a, hey, by the way, we have the same goal in common, and sending a hockey puck from one of their favorite players. It's little things like that get people off their regular routine and say, wow, that's kind of fun. I like that. So I highly recommend using these kinds of items to do so. I think, sports marketing doesn't have to be complicated. And sometimes when you think about using a player, a lot of times it's collaborating all the different needs over the course of a year and maybe zeroing in on one player. I think that sometimes people get confused about having a player do something for you. The something is really come and gone. Having a player show up for an appearance or come to your store to do an opening or coming to a party, you don't really get a lot of bang for that. And obviously with social media now, you want to be able to get better use of it. So a couple of things on how to use a player to help you grow your business, how to help a player help you have people view your business a little differently. The first thing is I never go to a golf tournament alone. And the reason is that I'm just a guy, not a real good golfer on that note. And the real goal is when I go to a golf tournament, I want to network. I want to meet all the people at this golf tournament. They're usually important VPs, salespeople, people I want to network, find out what they're doing. So whenever I go to a golf tournament, I always bring a celebrity with me. By bringing that celebrity with me, I'm helping the person who's putting the golf tournament together. They're very grateful. And now they feel there's value in my relationship. It's usually I go to a golf tournament, I'm going there to support someone, support their charity, do the right thing. And when I bring a celebrity, I bring an athlete with me. Well, that's a boost to the tournament. It makes it a better tournament. People are more excited because there's a celebrity there. And at the same time, as I'm with that celebrity, everybody in the tournament wants to come and meet that celebrity. Hence, I get an opportunity to meet those people because they're all coming to me and get an opportunity to give them my business card. And if the celebrity is on my page where maybe I've done a few things with that celebrity, now the celebrity actually understands what I do and they're kind of, in a sense, almost representing your character and the kind of quality you are because we've done this a few times before. So one thing I know is that athletes love to golf, and especially when they go into a tournament, if they're going to make a little bit of money by going to the tournament, who wouldn't want to do that? Who wouldn't want to get paid to go to a golf tournament as opposed to having to pay to go one? So when I go to a golf tournament, I always want to bring a celebrity with me. When I go to a charity dinner, I never want to go without a celebrity with me. And it doesn't always cost a lot of money. You don't have to bring Michael Jordan with you. But sometimes for as little as $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, you can have a celebrity for the night come with you. And you go to a celebrity dinner, and it's like, it's like going to the dentist. I mean, you're sitting at a table with 8 other people. At some point, what else are you going to talk about? And then all the things that are going on, and it's really hard to get those people invited. So you're guilting them into coming to that charity event, even though it's a cause that's near and dear to your heart. When I have the celebrity at my table, again, everyone at the dinner wants to come and meet that celebrity. So we get a chance to meet sometimes 100, 200, 300 people. At the same time, I'm helping the charity. I'm helping the cause. I'm now separating myself by adding value. Value, doing something for someone that they can't do themselves. I'm bringing a celebrity to the dinner, which is added value. Now the person who's my client, who I'm showing up in good faith to support their charity, their ability to try to help someone or help a cause, I'm showing up, and now the client's actually appreciative of me coming, where in some cases, sometimes you buy a table, you're not even sure if they remember you went. And at the same time, it's a better lure to get better people to come to dinner with you. Hey, I'm going to be with Walt Frazier. I'm going to be with Don Mattingly. I'm going to be with Joe Torre at this dinner. Would you want to be a guest at our table? You get a chance to meet Joe, and it's a good cause. So these are just little ways you can use athletes without having to spend a lot of money. But I certainly think now with trade shows and event marketing, it's becoming bigger and bigger. Showing up at a trade show, or if you have a booth or a table at a trade show and having a talent there to draw recognition, draw attention is certainly significant. And it's a great social because if people can't make it to the trade show, you still can do some video, you can do some photos, you can do some giveaways from the trade show, showing all your customers what they're missing by not being at the trade show and the opportunity that they would have had if they had come to maybe meet player X or meet player Y or meet player Z. At the same time, when you bring a player in for a trade show, don't just think about the fact that he's just going to show and sign some autographs. To me, a trade show always comes down to the top 10, 15, 20 clients that you really want to meet and maybe try to just break some bread, create some more loyalty, or just try to get your foot in the door maybe. So what I like to do is I like to cut a deal with a player, signs autographs for an hour, which creates a little buzz around the trade show. You get some social media out of it, and then part of it, the athlete maybe comes to a cocktail party for 10 or 15 clients with you so you can really hobnob, and that's a better draw to get those clients to come and hang out with you for dinner or cocktail party as opposed to going with the competition. Simple, not a lot of money. When you're doing a trade show, a lot of times you go into a different city that you're not from, and there are always athletes and different celebrities that live in each one of these cities. And if they don't have to get on a plane and go too far, a lot of times they'll do some things maybe a little less than what they normally would get. And a lot of times they'll do it for trade, depending on what kind of products or services you provide. An athlete may come and do something like that in exchange for trade. So you always want to explore those options. I think it's really important to also understand that the athlete you hire a lot of times come with social media. They come with a following. And the fact that when you put them on your social media following, it's an opportunity for you to build up your own social media and your own following if used correctly. So it's not just only about the athletes showing up, but it's also what they show up with. And if they're showing up with the right social media and you put the right kind of video together with you and the athlete and decision maker, a lot of times that can drive your social media and also take advantage of the athlete's social media. And those are added benefits of hiring a player if the player is willing to play with you and knows what they're doing, which a lot of them now do as far as their social media is involved. So that's a good little play there. And the last thing I'm going to talk about today is your involvement sometimes with the team. A lot of times you feel like if you're not Delta or Chase or Citi or one of these big sponsors, you can't get involved with the team. But the fact of the matter is you could. Teams now probably have the best talent I've ever seen in-house to help you put together a sports marketing plan. That's really where the business has changed, if nothing else, dramatically, is that there are really talented people inside these teams that are great marketers, promoters, and have figured out ways to come up with different assets that we had never seen before. And as long as you have that association with a team, that's half the benefit right away. These teams have brands and followings that are second to none, and you want to tie into those things. So sometimes maybe getting the outfield sign is a great thing, but also getting connected with the fan base is sometimes even more important. And you can do that a whole bunch of different ways. We're going to get into this in another conversation, but I would say is, if you look at your product and the team that you're interested in, because it's in a market and deals with the clients and customers that you're actually attracted and do business with, all you need to do is go look at the team's website, poke around, maybe call the team up and say, hey, are you doing anything with plumbing? Are you doing anything with electricians? Are you doing anything with this union? Are you doing anything with steel? Whatever, it could be a college that you're marketing. It could be a school you're marketing, a hospital, a type of some kind of medicine, a new drug. You'd be surprised some of the categories that are open. And all you have to do is make it simple, call to the marketing department. If it is open, you may not need to do some $1 million sponsorship, but sometimes a $50,000 or $100,000 deal can get you in the door and get you that association, give you the ability to entertain clients. Teams now are more set up now to help you entertain clients, which is a huge thing, and you show the affiliation. Also, product involvement. You may have a product that the team could somehow use, whether it be in the locker room, sometime in this VIP hospitality, it could be in their restaurants, or even their fast food, or just something they can actually sample and hand out to their fans, which is a huge get in itself. And it sometimes comes with radio and TV promotions and in-stadium promotions for that particular week or day. So there's a lot of possibilities when you think about your product, even though you may not think you have a sports product or you may not be big enough. There are small little promotions and nuggets that do fit into the team scheme if it doesn't conflict with the other sponsors. And if it's an open category, a lot of teams will sometimes listen. Now listen, it's not always easy to get a sponsorship with the New York Yankees, probably the best brand in all of sports. There's no question. Or Madison Square Garden, which is an amazing building and not easy to get into. But sometimes you go into some of the smaller markets where the Yankees play those teams. Or when you play the Garden may be tough to get into, but you're playing, the Knicks are playing Milwaukee, and you may be able to get some sponsorship on the signage on the sidelines. You may be able to do a sponsorship with a team that the Yankees are playing that's a lot less expensive and still be able to market to the Yankee crowd because they're all watching the game. So there's a lot of different ways to spin it that aren't always the obvious. And the most important thing is, if you want to grow, you kind of have to get into a little bit of your discomfort zone and get into an area that you may not know a lot about. But you'll be surprised how sports can fit into so many different lines of product and into so many categories. So I highly recommend you take a step back. The athletes these days are so powerful with their reach and their branding, better than I've ever seen it. And you don't need to have Michael Jordan leading the way. There are some amazing athletes and talents that really can really fill your business up. I always say team them and theme them. Sometimes you can get 2 or 3 guys that fit into a really good theme. Could be some offensive linemen, even possibly some pitchers in the bullpen. You'd be surprised how some different players can fill some different voids for you and get the job done without you having to spend a fortune. And by the way, if you could spend a fortune, there is nothing like having the big name, the lights out name. It's amazing. If you have a LeBron James marketing for you, or obviously a Steph Curry or a Durant. I mean, these are unbelievable names, and only a few companies can get them. But you never know. Sometimes there is an interest even with those players, where maybe it makes sense for them because of something they have going on personally with their charity that they may want to connect with you. And they may not have that category filled, but there may be an interest. It could be a kid that's interested in that area. You just never know. And again, it's not who you know, what you know, but what you know about who. And when you do a little research and you find a talent or a team that really fits into your fan base, you'd be surprised sometimes if you want to make it work, and how easy sometimes it can be just to slip in there and maybe get something done. Ben, I thought we'd take some questions. I just want to give you a little feel for sports marketing 101. We are going to get into some other conversations with PR and promotion and sponsorships, and working for a team, and by bringing in some different guests and Skyping them in. I just want to give you kind of a little flavor of what we're going to be doing from time to time in these sports marketing sessions. So we'll do some quick questions, Ben.
So this question's from Philip. He said, what is the most important lesson you've learned in your career excuse me, about sports marketing?
I mean, one of the most valuable lessons, and there's been so many, I mean, I probably would need an hour. I don't think I'd cover them all, but it's really not how much you're paying. It's the value you're getting. I think sometimes you get caught up and intimidated sometimes by the price tag of how much a player may cost, or a sponsorship may cost, or how much tickets may cost. But the question is not how much does it cost, but what is the return you're going to get from that? Because a lot of times it way supersedes what you're going to spend. And if you want to play big and make big money, sometimes you got to spend big money. But those are the things you got to do the work and the research, and you got to strategize that out. But I think that sports isn't cheap anymore. It's not a secret, but it's also it's a game that's worth actually looking into and possibly playing. There's a lot of opportunity. And then the last thing I would say is sports has not had its best day yet. I mean, sports industry has just grown leaps and bounds. I've been in this thing for 30 years, and it's amazing how big it's gotten. It's certainly bigger than I ever thought, and I think it's nowhere near as big as it could be. The growth is still there. There's still so many opportunities for all you young people out there that are thinking about studying in college and starting to study in high school. There's a lot of opportunity and growth still in sports. I think sports is as close to religion as you can. I think people are always going to stay with it. And it's almost the last vehicle that people actually are interested in watching live, particularly on TV. So it's got a lot of legs still left to it if you're thinking about getting into the industry. And if you're thinking about dabbling with it from a business standpoint, I think it's as strong a content and product right now that we have in this country.
Question from Steve. Do you think teams miss the boat sometimes when they've got young players that are highly touted talents, but they don't necessarily let them out in the public to do appearances and things too much?
It depends. I think that, it's very difficult. There's a lot of pressure on these teams to win, and they're paying the players a lot of money. And certainly, I don't know if it's very hard to explain the amount of that's required of a professional player now on a professional team in a real market, in all defense of the team and even the player. I mean, this is not let's just drop off at the ballpark like an hour or two before and play the game. I mean, strategy, film, watching, working out, physical conditioning, physical therapy. There's a tremendous amount required when you're playing a long season in most of the sports, hockey, basketball particularly, and certainly baseball with 162 games. So a lot of that is just to keep the players focused. And I think the teams feel like they're paying the player enough that the other stuff shouldn't be a priority. I mean, it should be allowed because it helps them build their brand. And I think that is all about the player. And when these players are doing marketing stuff, it does help their brand, which ultimately helps the team and makes it more exciting for the fans. So it's a little bit of a catch. And I'm not sure I could really answer that question fairly. I'm probably a little conflicted because I got to look at it from the team and player perspective, and then I try to look at it from the company and fan perspective. And you got to find a happy medium. I'm a big fan of fan fests. I'm a big fan of definitely having players get out there and do something. I think doing nothing, which sometimes seems to be a little bit more common than I like it to be, is probably not a good resolution and answer to it. I think that part of the deal with playing on a team and having a team in a city should be sharing your players and getting them into the community. And I think the better teams do it, but some teams are probably cracked down a little too much and gone too far.
We got a question from Monty. It's a two-parter.
Monty, 2 parts? Really? On a Friday? All right, go ahead.
One is, how do you determine a fair amount to pay an athlete to sign? And then 2, any plans for Nick Swisher signing perhaps a 10-year reunion of the 09 championship?
Well, part 2, Nick Swisher, he's a rock star, and, nobody loves Nick Swisher more than this New York City. I mean, Nick Swisher was meant to be, I think he was really a New Yorker when it's all said and done, because they love Nick Swisher in this city. And he was great when he was here, too. And I think a lot of people mess up because he was just a bundle of energy and personality. A 10-year reunion, I don't know. I mean, all these guys have kind of been around it. I don't know if it's far enough out. I think I'm thinking more 25 reunion for the Rangers, though. What was the first part of that question again?
How do you determine how much to pay an athlete?
I don't know. I don't know anymore. I used to be able to have this figured out. Certainly in the first 10, 15 years at Steiner, we did a good job. And I think we actually, demand. We look at the market they're playing in, the team, how much that player has signed, is willing to sign, and certainly the position they play, and certainly what they've accomplished and the potential what they have to accomplish going forward is a huge deal. So if a player sometimes accomplishes something, but they're right at the end of their career, it's different than when they accomplish something early in their career, and maybe there's even more records and more great things to come, which will lead you to higher prices. It's a very complicated process that I don't think anyone understands, and particularly the players, I think, are struggling these days with understanding it, because there's so many parts to the market and creating an autographed, to create an autographed market, it's complicated because a player is his own entity, really, and he's got this autograph. And does he want to sell wholesale? Does he want to sell to resellers who in essence, will enhance their brand? Or does a player, especially in this day and age, just want to sell direct to consumer? This is the big dilemma. It really dictates a lot with price. And then it will dictate demand, because if you're just selling direct to consumer and you just want the retail price, the athlete will get paid more per autograph, but will sign less, and his brand takes a hit because it won't be in unusual and cool places. You don't have more people thinking about it. And this is the problem we're having with a lot of products, because when you have a product that more people are thinking about with more distribution, you ultimately get a better product and the fans win. When you have a product that's being dominated, and we see this now in Amazon, when you have like an Amazon that's dominating right now with products and dominating in distribution, you then discriminate against creativity and other forms of distribution, and ultimately it takes away from the customer experience. It ultimately takes away from the customer choices. Now, I'm sure if an Amazon person was sitting next to me, they disagree, but I think the more narrow-minded we are about how we buy our stuff, we are taking a lot of creative minds away from coming up with the what's next or something that's a little bit better. And you're kind of jammed into one road, one highway, and we all know what happens when there's only one road and one highway. It's a traffic jam, and things get kind of blocked up. So that's my take on that. Couple more, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. This question is from Sienna. I know she's a pretty avid follower of us. I think big Giants fan out of New Jersey. But she's got a question about the Yankees. Tell a little bit of the story behind how you actually got a partnership with the Yankees. How did that actually happen?
It's a good question. I mean, the partnership with the Yankees came from a whole bunch of things. But, back in the early 2000s, we were doing a lot of stuff, obviously, with the Yankees. And it's been going on for a while. And I just felt like that I probably would love to have had a relationship with them. I wasn't really sure if it was even possible. And when I went in to see them, I also wanted to make sure that everything we were doing was above board. I think there were some question marks out there, maybe. And I think the Yankees had an interest in, really, most importantly, which is always their interest, frankly, which is one of the reasons why I love the Yankees and love the relationship, is they understand who's important and what's important. And who's important and what's important is their fans, number one, putting the best product on the field, number two. And they live by that 365 days a year. They don't waver on that a couple of times here and a couple of times there. The fans are everything to the Yankees, and putting the best product on the field is a close second, and making sure that they do everything they can to put a winning product together for the fans which includes promotion, giveaway days, which nobody does it better, and then on the field. So when I went to see them, I mean, there was a concern about, you see these Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio, Babe Ruth things that were out there that were a little wobbly. Nobody could tell if they were real or not. So, one of the things on my mind is, like, imagine if we can go put an authentication system together so that 20, 30 years down the road, a Jeter, a Mariano, a Posada, those things that people had, at least they would know for sure would be real. And we'd be able to protect the fans from all the chaos and uncertainty of what they were buying. So that was kind of the underlying spirit of it. So when we went in, we were just trying to get some clarity to who I was, what I was doing. Because, I certainly was doing a lot of stuff with their players, and I'm sure they probably wanted to understand that a little better. And at the same time, I got a sense that there was a concern that they wanted to protect their fans out there that were buying things and making sure that they were real. So the real underlying thing, even though it took 2 years to do this deal, and probably without Randy Levine or Alon Trost or Marty Greenspun or Scott Krug, this deal is not getting done. This wasn't like somebody in the corner office over there and we put a quick little deal together. This was 2 years of working with MLB, working with the US Network, a lot, all kinds of different factors that come into play to put a deal like that together. And it was a brand changer for me. I don't think it was as good. The Yankees are the Yankees, but certainly it was a brand changer and an industry changer. The Yankees had the foresight. They actually had the vision to understand that this stuff was important. It's important to their fans. And I'm grateful that they chose me to actually partner up with to kind of put that together. We initially weren't thinking so much about that it was going to be a really money-making thing. But then when we got the ball rolling, so to speak, I was like, I think I could sell those bases. I could sell dirt. I could sell the lineup card. There's a lot of things I could do. And then the Yankees had a bunch of different ideas that they can maybe do for their customers, their premium customers, and different events and Q&As and gifting that we could do for season ticket holders. And everything kind of came together. It's been a very complicated relationship that's actually over time because one of the things the Yankees do is, besides have great sponsors, they work very hard on their sponsors. I see this more and more with teams, but I don't think anybody does it as well as the Yankees. I see it often, but not like the way the Yankees, where they stay with sponsors, and that's why you don't see sponsors leave. They work relentlessly hard on making your sponsorship work. Because in any relationship you have, it really takes two to tango. And you see with a lot of teams and leagues, you have one, you don't always get the back and forth. With the Yankees, you do. They worked as hard as I worked to get this deal to work. And that's probably why 12 years later, it is probably a relationship that is relatively smooth. And there's an understanding with the fans, an understanding internally of how Steiner can serve Yankee fans, can serve season ticket holders, do great things for them. At the same time, the Yankees, in my mind, being the supreme brand of all time, not to get on a Yankee tangent, but they did change the industry because now all other teams, as we've done a bunch of deals with a bunch of other teams over the years, they changed the way teams and leagues look at collectibles, which is what I was hoping for and praying for, and those prayers were answered, and I'm grateful.
Let's pause for a second and give away one of those prizes. Let's give the Lundqvist.
By the way, what do you got to do to get the Jeter thing, Ben? Explain it a little carefully because everybody wants to win the Jeter ball.
So
right? You want to win the Jeter ball?
Anything on the table, people just have to share the video, comment a question, like your page.
Lundqvist, Odell.
But the Jeter ball, if they just go to steinersports.com/win, and it's pinned to the bottom of this video right now, so they just have to click right there, and they can enter to win a Derek Jeter signed ball.
So listen, if you're on this platform, we're always giving stuff away. We're always doing these lives. Last night was Didi Gregorius. Last week, Aaron Boone, if you're a Yankee fan. But we do all kinds of players, teams, themes, ideas. This sports marketing thing we'll do, you'll get the alerts. And if you know somebody who's interested in sales or sports marketing, these will always be informative. And in the future, we're going to bring some really good guests that can bring it. And I'm always learning, so we'll try to get you the best guests to give you different insight on different aspects of, there's the sport TV, the sports radio, the sports promotion, sports PR. There's a lot of angles to this. Not just one or two different avenues when you talk about sports business and sports marketing. It's so many different levels. And we haven't even mentioned sports products, sporting goods, sneakers, or sports apparel. Licensing. There's just so much to now the sports industry, which is probably about the third largest industry in the country and growing. And growing with some oomph and some pizzazz and some swagger. So there's some people that I started about 30 years ago, but there's a lot of people that sometimes don't get mentioned. They're like the forefathers of this business. which one day hopefully we'll get the recognition. But some amazing people, the McCormicks, David Falk from an agent standpoint. Certainly the Yankees, even with the Yes Network, I could probably go on and on with the Yankee thing. But there's been some great people that have been involved in the business over the years. I'm hopefully to get them on the phone or in here to talk about this stuff. A couple more questions,
Yeah,
and we'll move on.
Well, let's give some of the stuff away.
Let's
So,
give Odell away.
well, I don't have anybody for Odell
You're
yet,
just
but
liking and sharing, by the way.
yeah,
What do you wanna give away?
for Mike Joseph. He wins the Henrik Lundqvist photo.
This is a cool photo, by the way. I mean, I love Henrik. He's going through a little bit of a tough time now, but I still believe in him.
So
And,
for Mike,
hoping
he's just
all right.
Mike's just got to send you a private message, just with your shipping details, and we'll get that sent out.
And by the way, when you send a private message, if you feel you got a question and we don't get to it, we try to answer them all. So if you're asking some questions, we don't get to it, we'll try to answer them all, or we'll bring them on to the next show. Giving away something else?
Yeah, let's do the Odell.
Okay.
That'll be for Todd.
I mean, do you miss Odell Beckham? I mean, how do you not miss Odell Beckham? If nothing else, those touchdown dances are unbelievable. Anybody that can moonwalk on a football field with cleats and grass, I mean, you know how hard that is? I mean, just to watch his pregame on the dancing, I don't know, he's a cool cat. But anyway, the Odell Beckham, this is one of his great catches, but somehow I get the feeling there's many more catches to come. I think he's coming back with a vengeance this year, no doubt.
That'll be for Todd Osman.
Hey, Todd, private message, and we'll send us your address, and we'll mail this out to you right away.
Awesome. All right. You want to do the Troy Brown too?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, let's do
I mean,
the Troy
sorry
Brown.
about these Patriot fans. I don't feel that bad for you with the amount of winning and everything else. I think anybody in their right mind would trade their team in for yours with the amount of winning that's been going on. But listen, the Patriots do it right, and they got the great quarterback, and they got the great coach and the great owner too. People don't talk enough about Kraft, but he's one of the great ones too. Really smart guy. Anyway. Who's winning?
Let's give the Troy Brown.
You're liking and
to-
sharing. We'll give away some other prizes. Let's give away this Keith Hernandez ball too.
Yeah, we'll give away the Keith.
Don't forget, really, send an empty case.
Let's give that one to Cole Brothen.
All right, Cole. Just private messengers. By the way, another cool idea that I do is I call up a decision maker, right, and I find out what their favorite sport is. What's the sport that they participate in and like? They're a runner, tennis, basketball. I go to a store and I buy the best pair of sneakers I can of the sport that decision maker likes, and I send them the right sneaker. And then I say, listen, I don't want to be left out. I want to make sure I get off on the right foot with you. Would you give me a meeting? And I'm gonna bring the other sneaker with you. I'm gonna bring the other sneaker with me. And I've never had a decision maker not give me that meeting after I send him these cool LeBrons or these Air Jordans, and I send him one sneaker, and then I tell him I'm going to bring the other one with me when I meet. They love that, the fact that I found out that they're an avid runner or a basketball player or tennis player. I've never had a decision maker not give me that meeting afterwards.
Let's take a few more questions. We got a bunch.
Isn't it all about getting to the right people? I mean, I think it's not enough talked about it. Okay, a couple more and we'll roll.
A couple of people asking about social media. So from Michael, how has social media changed and impacted your business?
I don't know. If you got that answer, please, let me know. I'm trying to figure it out, but I do believe that it's a tremendous opportunity. We have hundreds of thousands of customers at Steiner, literally. And it's difficult for me to thank every one of them and talk to every one of them, which I would like to do. And when I do get an opportunity, I certainly do. But social media gives me an opportunity to talk and find out what's going on and hear from you and tell customers what they like, hear from customers what they like, don't like. Customers right now have the biggest opportunity to share their opinions and views. And if you're a CEO and running a company, you don't want to hear those views. You're crazy. So I use social media first and foremost to connect with my customers and understand what they're looking for, understand what they're happy about, unhappy about, and make sure that I let them know and keep them kind of feel like they're a part of this. So you'll see when you watch us, or at least me on social media, I'm all over the company showing you what's going on in our warehouse, showing you what's going on in product development or in our auction platform, or I'll go over to the Steiner store in Roosevelt Field and show you what's going on in our store. As opposed to just putting a little ad, I can actually show you and tell you what my thinking was of why I moved the Steiner store from one location to the location in front of Dick's, let's say, or why I decided to come up with this new product, or why I decided to sign up this new athlete, or this marketing or appearance that we did in our corporate division. And I think it's a great opportunity to share and add value. I think people misunderstand. They look at social media about what value they can get out of it. How does that help your business? And I look at it as like, what value can I put in? What value can I share with my customers? What value can I share with you, as I'm trying to do today? And I think that's probably what we need more of in business today, frankly, but that's more what I'm trying to do with my business is create more value, share more value for my customers so they feel like they're more a part of it, and I can get their insights and wisdom to help me get my company better.
Got a couple questions actually about the XFL. This is from Todd. What do you think about the relaunch?
I loved the XFL back then. I don't know what it's going to be this time, but I kind of liked it. I'm not a huge football guy because of the danger and some of the problems that I see in the sport, which scares me, and I don't like some of my friends and people that I've been working with for 30 years that can't put two sentences together, that have 6, 7, 8 injuries and surgeries that are not fixable. So I'm a little bit, I don't want to go on an NFL and football tangent because I'm hoping that the league can work itself out. But the XFL had some fun stuff. I think McMahon is a genius, probably one of the great marketers of our time. I have a lot of respect for him. I've never met him, but followed him, watch him. You can't argue with genius. You can't argue with a guy that just his level of smartsmanship, his level of out of the box, his level of doing things that I don't even know how he thought of it. The entertainment aspect, everything is amazing. And whether you're a wrestling fan or not, if you're into business and sports and promotion, you probably got to go look at a case study and look at kind of what he's done and how he's done it, because it is remarkable. It is amazing. It's unreal. But I'm an XFL fan. I went to a few games back then, followed it. It was definitely unique. It definitely took a little of the edge away from the way, let's say, traditional football does some things. Interested to see how this gets pulled together. I think there's room for another league. So if this is going to be the other league, I think football may be one of those sports that maybe needs to be 12 months. People are so fanatical about it. Maybe we just need to give people football 12 months, and maybe the XFL is the answer. And I don't know. I'm not betting against Vince.
Let's give the Keith Hernandez ball to Nick Carbs.
All right, Nick. By the way, Nick, we'll send this to you with a case. Maybe use this for a potential customer or a client. See if you can get your foot in the door, an internship, whatever you're trying to get. And that's the other thing. Like if you're in school out there, you're trying to get an internship, separate yourself, differentiate yourself, find a decision maker, find out what they're a fan of. Send them something that relates to something that the decision maker's a fan of. Whether you have to creatively make something up, possibly if you're buying something that's really subtle. It's really important that when you send these gifts out to try to get the meeting, it is important to do something subtle and not so expensive so it doesn't look like you're buying your way in and it creates a little discomfort.
This question is from Michael. Would you ever try to co-own a team?
I would. I mean, it's just, teams are not cheap. I mean, they're a lot of money. So if you got a team that you want to partner up with me on that I can afford, or maybe there's a way to collaborate on, it's great. I mean, I tip my cap to Derek Jeter. I mean, he figured out a way, followed his dream, and he worked himself into an ownership situation. Not many players get to do that, and there's been some big names that have played sports. Only a couple players have managed to do that. I think we're going to see a trend of more players doing it, and it'll be interesting to see how it works out. But listen, I think owning a team or part of a team or even a small part of a team would be amazing. I'm hoping to be able to be included in a situation like that one day.
What's your best advice for not getting deterred by failure?
Well, first thing to realize that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is a huge part of success. And I think here's something I was thinking about this morning, actually. It's like everybody wants to win and succeed more. I mean, anybody out there disagree? I mean, everyone wants to win and succeed more. And you want to increase your winning. You want to increase your success. But if you believe that failure is a part of succeeding, then in order to succeed, you must fail also. Then you have to be ready to increase your level of failure if you are open to increasing your level of winning. If you can get your mind wrapped around that and not let failure be the end all, well, I think you're on your way to success much more than you actually think you are. And you can't get caught up and you can't get stuck. You can't get stuck on maybe something that's stupid or stuck on a dream that you had and it didn't work. There's so many different opportunities out there with the right mindset and then the right mental stamina. And I think a lot of it is your own mind. And sometimes you can get really down on yourself when something's happened and didn't go your way. Disappointment can lead you to a really dark hole. And you got to be careful, because all disappointment comes from is an expectation that's not met. And what you need to do is you want to take your expectations and turn them in for appreciation. The only way you get out of disappointment and out of failure is by trading your expectation level for appreciation. And look at what good you got out of it. Look at the good that you experienced. And then you're enabled to move on. Well, we got a little deep there. We got way off the sports marketing thing. I'm sorry about that, but it's true. And it's important.
This was more towards what Steiner Sports can actually do for companies. Talk a little bit about what Steiner Sports started as, and then what Steiner Sports can do for companies and organizations today.
I have no idea what I was doing. A lot of people would agree, I'm still not sure what I'm doing. But, we started as a sports PR firm. We were doing PR, public relations for sports bars. I was very involved with the inception of that idea, and I was just helping restaurants grow by marketing them and showing them how to use the sports theme as an advantage to get customer activity to come into these restaurants. I think, these days, Steiner's gone through a lot of different processes and avenues, but predominantly we're a talent procurement. We help companies still to this day, 30 years later, which is really the first thing that we really did back in 1988. We get athletes for companies to help them grow. And it may seem like a simple thing, but it's hard to pick out the right athlete and know enough about the athlete, but you don't want to make a mistake because it's difficult to unravel out of it. So we try to get you not only an athlete, but an athlete that works, an athlete that we know that you may not know, and know that they have an interest in your product, or an athlete that is going to be easy for a company like yours or a decision maker like you to work with to help you enhance your brand and accomplish some of your goals. So sometimes an athlete may be a great name, but maybe the flexibility isn't there, or maybe them in a trade show meeting all kinds of different people, they're not the right personality for that. But they've got huge social media. So if you're into huge social media pop and you really don't need them to show up and kiss babies and talk to clients, they may be a good athlete. And that's kind of always been my specialty since day one. In the middle, in the 90s, when I was kind of struggling to get enough of that going on, even though I was doing a decent amount, I started Steiner Collectibles, which is really just putting product lines around players and really enhancing their image, working with players to enhance their brand, and really creating a product line around players to really show the greatness of them, the greatness of their careers, the greatness of what they've accomplished with MVPs and Rookie of the Years and championships. It's not just getting autographs and getting things signed, but putting product lines around players together has really been the core of what I started at Steiner and what still stays today, whereas opposed to other companies that just may get a player signed up and they just sign a bunch of stuff and they collaborate with other people and get stuff signed and they bring them to card shows. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as it's done professionally and appropriately and authentically, I have no problem with that. My approach has always been to put a huge collection together from the player, from high school, college. I want to know where Gretzky was playing hockey in the amateurs, in Canada, in USA, when he played, when he played for Canada, rather. I want to get into all the nooks and crannies of a player's career. And we go through hundreds of photos and hundreds of products to put this product line together around a player, which I think, a great player deserves. And that's kind of where we're at, along with the team partnerships like a Madison Square Garden or Yankees, and some different teams that we're partnered up with. It's using their game used, selling their game used, and all the products that get used in the game. And I think we've sent a great message to the industry to open up teams and leagues to selling their game used and organizing it so that fans can have, what I say, products from moments that matter. And that's been the underlying theory between everything I've done here, which is, how do we take the moments that matter, the first game you went with your dad, or the first game you went with your mom, or the first game that you saw a World Series, the first time you saw Mickey Mantle? How do you take all those games that matter to you, the memories that matter, and how do you savor them? And how do you get inside of those games and take stuff out of them and create collectibles around them, whether the actual stuff that the players wore and used or replications of those, and get those into people's bedrooms and offices and sports rooms and sports bars. That's kind of what Steiner is, and that's what I'm trying to do every day, along with the wow factor, wow, that is not only cool, but that's even better than cool. And that's what I'm striving for every day.
Let's close it out with this. This is from DJ. He says, you've taken a lot of risks in your career. How do you decipher between a risk worth taking and seeing something that could potentially backfire?
It's something I'm dealing with every day. I'm doing this for the first time, and this could have backfired. It's not easy to get on camera for 40 straight minutes and talk about something that you think you know a lot about, but, you're hoping it's going to work, and you're hoping that you out there are enjoying this conversation, getting something out of it, learning something. But I mean, risk, listen, if you like to have the entrepreneurial next to your name and you see the boats and the cars and all that crap, you're on the wrong path. You're not only running in the wrong direction, you're sprinting in the wrong direction enthusiastically. Entrepreneurship is about coming up with a big idea, and it's also understanding what's required, but it also is about leadership, and it's also about risk. And if you don't have the tolerance to step up to the table with the unknown right in front of you and get excited about it, it's not for you. So for me, the risk, and my mother was a gambler, and she always got me accustomed and to understand what risk is and what's the worst thing that can happen. You pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, you get back up, you try again. And then when that doesn't work, you do it again. You pick yourself up, dust yourself off, try it again. And I think it's important that you have to have that kind of stamina to understand that failure and the risk part of coming up with a really cool idea. For me, I have to go through my head as like, do I have it in me when this doesn't work to pick myself up and dust myself off? In my strongest day, can I get over myself if this whole thing blows up? And I got to tell you, I've had a very long list of failures. I mean, we could spend an hour on them. I mean, and I'm not bashful about sharing them. I mean, there's been a lot of blown relationships, employees that I wish I hadn't lost, teams that I didn't see eye to eye with, and it's all kinds of things that, when you're negotiating, you think you have the right strategy, and then it backfires, it doesn't work. So you're going to have failure, and those failures can be very, very costly. What I like to do, just to answer the last part of this question, is I like to surround myself with smart people that I trust and I believe in. So I'm not fearful in their opinions. I'm actually faithful in their opinions. And when I get their opinions and hear them out, I form my opinion and I feel confident, and therefore I feel like I can win. I do social media. It's very fearful for me for a while, but I put a guy like Ben around me. I put some other people around me that I believe in, that I feel like they know what they're doing. And then I turn my fear into faith. And then I let everything else, with God's help and with a strong faith, I'm hoping that everything is going to work out. So don't be afraid of risk. But if you are, then risk is not for everyone, and it's okay.
You want to close it out?
Appreciate everybody joining in. Hopefully we had a great week, some great guests. If you missed the guests this week, please, you may want to go back on my Facebook and just kind of give some of the watches and stuff. This is some great interviews and conversations and stories. Love to hear what you're looking for. Love to hear what you're thinking. What do you think of this? What are some of the things you want me to cover? What are some of the guests you want me to bring in? Hopefully I can surprise you and wow you with some great guests. We can get into what it takes to be an agent, what it takes to be a sports producer, what it takes to do sports licensing. We're going to cover it all. Anyway, hopefully we covered a little bit today. Hey, if you're trying to get your foot in the door, okay, use some simple little techniques. Don't go to a golf outing. Don't go to a charity event alone. Bring a celebrity with you. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and you'll raise a lot of eyebrows. You'll pick up a lot of business cards. And regardless of what it costs you, think about what you can make. Don't worry so much sometimes what it's going to cost. Think about what value it's going to bring you and how much money you can make if you make that decision and it works. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. It's going to be a little weird this weekend. No football. It's going to be a lot of college basketball. Just chill. Baseball's coming. Don't worry. It's okay. You may have to talk to your wife a little bit more. You may have to talk to your husband a little more. It's okay. Reconnect. It's one of those weekends. It's a transition weekend. You may even find yourself watching some hockey, and that's okay. It's all right. Hockey's a reach, but watch a lot of college basketball. That'll keep you busy. And something, spend a little extra time with your spouse. It's okay. Spend a little time with your kids, because this weekend is going to be a little bit of a hole. No NFL, no playoffs, no baseball. Well, I guess there's a little bit of NBA. I don't know who's on what team anymore. So many trades. It's completely screwed me up. Have a great weekend. Hopefully on Monday I'll figure all this out. Hopefully some of this stuff helped you. Love to hear your feedback. Catch up with you soon.